Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jonathan Taylor, Sales, Support, and Training for Mini Trencher Incorporated, GeoRipper North America. And I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by and hanging out with me and listening to what I have to say, and I appreciate your time. Also want to thank Reinders for having us in today. A great organization to work with. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and drop those in that Q&A section. Simon, our East area manager, is going to be stepping in at the end of the presentation to answer those questions, have a little bit of dialogue, share with you guys a little bit about GeoRipper. So let's talk about trenching. Let's talk about trenching with precision, portability, versatility. Let's talk about using a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer. I'd like to start off by briefly touching on the types of trenching machines that are out there. You guys are very familiar, of course, trenchers that are used for applications like landscape, irrigation, utility installation, you know, the gas and electrical drops and things like that we do. Silt fence for erosion control. There's a lot of different applications that trenching equipment is used for. And first of all, we have the machine mounted trenchers, and those can be either purpose-built trenching machines, you know, things that are dedicated trenchers. And then we also have attachment types, right, that can mount onto an existing piece of equipment to extend its versatility, that mount onto either skid steer, mini hoe, you know, that sort of thing. So we also have the walk behind trenchers, right? These can be wheel trenchers or chain trenchers, either way. And then finally, we have the shovel. The shovel just takes a lot of time, you know that, and it's labor intensive. It's backbreaking. It's usually more of a headache than it's worth. And especially, you know, when your time and labor is costing you money, that's a big deal. It's important. And, you know, what do most people think of when I say mini trencher, or what do most people think of when you say that? Typically walk behind. You know, after all, with the different kinds of trenching equipment out there, your walk behinds are going to be a lot smaller and a lot more maneuverable than those mounted on equipment or mounted on machines like skid steers and backhoes and that kind of thing. So, but it seems like there's a big gap, right? There's got to be something between something that we load onto a truck, onto a trailer, haul it to the job site, and a shovel. And there's not a lot of options out there that come to mind. How about a shovel with a button? You know, I remember a job that I had when I was doing it at my own house. I was running power from my house out to the well. Yeah, wellhead out in the front yard, 24 inches deep and, you know, 150 feet long. So, you know, I get my spade out, off I go. I'm gonna knock this out, and no big deal. So I'm out there and I'm digging, and, you know, about an hour later, I notice I'm at about 25 feet. So it didn't take long to do the math. I realized that my wheezy old butt's going to be out there for 4 or 5 hours digging, shoveling straight. Nope, that's not going to happen. Now, fortunately, I lived in an area where I could just real quickly go and rent a walk behind machine. But here's the thing with that: I had to hook up the trailer, haul it over there, load the trencher, take it back to the house, unload it, you know, cut my trench that I needed, and load it back onto the trailer, haul it back over and drop it off, come back, unhook the I'm worn out just saying it. Altogether, that you know, took me about 4 hours to do. So I really didn't end up saving any time. Then for a long time after that, every time I'm out in the front yard mowing, you know, riding my lawnmower, boom, 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 you know, across that because of the settling. And you know, I've got this big gash across my front yard because I'm always out there filling again and reseeding, and, you know, it's just a mess. So, you know, hand digging is labor intensive. It's cost prohibitive. Moving a piece of equipment like a walk behind machine or a mounted machine, it's often impractical. or in many cases impossible. So what's the alternative? To not do the project? But what if you had something that was truly compact, truly portable, a true handheld mini trencher, a shovel with a button, like I mentioned earlier? Um, and that's what the Geo Ripper is. It's a powerful handheld trenching machine. It's highly portable. Things like we get into situations like the lakefront houses, for example, where they are tight, right up against each other, little or no side yard to get through. There's applications and situations like fenced or a walled in backyard where you've got the little gate, that you're trying to get through. So it's, often a question of, do we take the gate off or do we take a section of the fence off to get our trencher in there? It's just, uh, have you ever carried your trencher through somebody's house? I've done that. Kick your shoes off or your boots off, whatnot, and carry those in one hand and your mini trencher, your Geo Ripper in the other hand, and off you go. Or handed it over the wall or a fence to one of the other guys on the crew. Makes it a lot easier. And that's what I mean when I say portable. And let's take that limited access thing to another level. Tight spaces. We all have those jobs where we're cutting it right along the wall, right along the house, right along a fence, something like that, between the air conditioning unit in the house or a little bump out, something like that. Classic situation. You can't get your shovel back in there. And, I always think I could go home and grab my wife's little hand trench she has in her gardening kit and get back in there with that. But I mean, other than that, there's not a whole lot of possibilities. So, and the other thing too is it doesn't tear up. The Geo Ripper doesn't tear up existing established yards and landscaping areas. So we're coming to the season is very quickly here. It's literally right around the corner, guys. And this time of year, when we get into the spring, depending upon the snow load that we've had and the rain that we've had and so forth, a lot of guys talk about how soft the ground is. I've lived most of my life in the Midwest. I know that heavy snow load, and then you get, those spring rains come right behind that, March, April, and that ground gets soft enough to where you can literally push your hand right down into the ground, almost up to your elbow. And there's no way you're going to want to take a wheeled or tracked piece of equipment onto, a situation like that. Just gonna tear it up. I've even tried, I've tried laying down the plywood, stay on the plywood, guys, and of course, that never works out the way you want it to. Bob runs off the corner of the plywood and, tears the yard up, or the corners of the plywood are digging in and messing everything up. But with the Geo Ripper, there's no wheels, there's no tracks, there's nothing to tear up the yard. Even with the ground at its peak pudding-like perfection, the only footprint it ever is going to leave is the one on the bottom of your shoe. It's very maneuverable as well. It's easy to get into areas like established beds, around bushes or shrubs, threading your way through a heavily wooded area. And you all know situations where you've had to do that kind of work in an established area, or going through a wooded area to run line or pipe or wire for something. And on that thought, the Geo Ripper has, because of the way that the chain is made, it actually is self-sharpening. Say that 5 times fast, right? It's self-sharpening chain. As the leading edge wears, it develops chipping sharpness. It doesn't get sharp like a chainsaw or anything like that, but it has the capacity to cut through up to a 3-inch tree root below grade. So you're going to be able to cut through the roots that you need to. And, on that note, if you have a situation where you have a big tree and you don't want to cut through the root and risk damaging the well-being of the tree or destabilizing that huge piece of timber that's standing over somebody's house or whatnot, you have the capacity with the Geo Ripper to trench in from one side and then trench in from the other side, and you'll be able to go underneath of that root to run your pipe or your wire or whatever you need to. So it doesn't damage the tree or cause any instability with the tree at all. Cuts a tight trench, and that's really important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it allows for neat, clean, in some cases, no backfilling whatsoever. A lot of our guys will lay down landscaping fabric on the left-hand side of the trench. The vast majority of the spoils come out, pile up right there, neat pile right on the left-hand side of the trench. When they're done, just lift that landscape fabric, drop everything right back down in, and a little bit of Reiki, and you're done. It's like you were never there. And there's no settling or no filling needed or reseeding. So that saves you that for having to go back and address those issues where you do. Saves a lot of time, and thereby also saves you a lot of money. Gets the job done 3 times faster with 1 man than 3 men with shovels. And you know, I can't even do that math. It's like shovel cubed. But here's what that means. Josh Ike, one of our contractors for wood duck landscaping, had a job where he had 2 guys and they were laying out, and they put in 20 heads by hand digging. And it took 2 guys all day to lay in those 20 heads. So while that job was going on, that's when he got his GeoRipper. So the next day they went back out and he had 1 guy with the GeoRipper lay in 50 heads. So, you know, and that trench that I mentioned earlier, that I talked about earlier at my house, 150 feet, 24 inches deep, 20 minutes, half an hour, easy. So obviously thereby, you know, it reduces your labor demand, increases your capacity. So what I mean by that is if you take those 3 extra guys that you had hand digging, start a second crew, give them a GeoRipper, and you've just doubled your capacity. One of my contractors, John Prakash from Portland Sprinklers, PDX Sprinklers, he took his 1 crew of 6 guys, split it into 2 crews of 3, each with a GeoRipper, and he literally doubled his capacity and his revenue overnight. So do you guys have enough guys right now to be able to do that? I mean, does it make sense possibly to, you know, bring on a couple of other guys and double your capacity that easily? The other thing too is it leads to happier clients, more positive reviews. And let me tell you how that works. So neater, cleaner, faster jobs are going to lead to better reviews. You all hear that, you know, in the reviews that we read, they were so fast, they were so clean, they were in and out, they didn't make a mess, those are the kind of things that people talk about in reviews, and GeoRipper just makes it so much easier for that. So, you know, we all want, particularly in this day and age, the importance of reviews online, to have the capacity to have more of those reviews, more positive reviews and that sort of thing. It definitely helps. Again, if you guys have any questions as we're going along here, just go ahead and add those into the comments section too. So just a reminder for you on that. So there's different applications for the GeoRipper. Irrigation obviously is the one that comes to mind right away. Installing polypipe, funny pipe, lateral strip line, you know, those sorts of things. In that capacity, it's also perfect for repairs, service calls, rezoning, relocating heads, those kind of things. These are jobs that are taking a lot of time, taking a lot of effort, not necessarily tremendously profitable for you. Probably primarily customer service. You want to take good care of your clients. That's absolutely important to do. But if you can turn those jobs quickly, neatly, they're going to be money-making machines for you. One of our guys in Oklahoma told us that the GeoRipper saves him an hour every time he relocates or rezones or moves one of the heads. He had a job where he did 12. He was relocating 12 heads on a job, and he literally saved 12 hours of labor just in that one situation. So the question that comes to mind immediately is how many more jobs can he do like that a day? And how much more profitable do each one of those jobs become? You know, you could be making a lot of profit and a lot more better service on these service repair and upgrade jobs. Like I said, they can become a money-making machine for you. Perimeter fence. One of the things I'm always at I'm at a show and I have somebody come by and they take a look at it like, man, I could have really used that. You could see their mind, you can see their eyes turning as far as like, the possibilities of what they would have been able to do. I just put in a new invisible fence for my dog, or we just got that new remote lawnmower. And I'd love to have something like this to be able to put that wire in at the perimeter. Hardscape, for us hardscape guys out there, helps you with your drops. You know, if you're doing fire, water features, you know, lighting retrofits to existing hardscape projects, you know, you should, and another thing you should be talking to your clients too about hardscape guys is root barrier. Along their paver driveways, paver patios, those sorts of things. Obviously, it increases the longevity of the job, sets you apart from your competition, brings, you know, value to your jobs. So with the GeoRipper, there's no wheels or tracks to dislodge pavers or to mark up either pavers, concrete, that sort of thing. And again, fellas, this is where those reviews come from, particularly with, you know, hardscape outdoor lighting, man. People love to post pictures of their new paver patio with a fire pit and the outdoor lighting. And wow, what a fantastic job those guys did. They were in and out so quick. They were so neat. You know what I'm driving at here. Silt fence and erosion control. So because of the fact that it cuts, this is another aspect of that tight trench that's very beneficial. Cuts a tight trench. So you run your trench, drive your stakes in, pull that membrane tight, get back in the truck and leave. It's done. There's really no need for backfill whatsoever. Because it's so tight the first time it rains, or even, you know, before that, a lot of times that tight trench is going to slump right back against that membrane for you. Very easy. And, you know, traditionally, we've always taken 2 trucks out to one of these silt fence jobs. We've got to have one for our BMP and our you know, our materials, straw, seed, that kind of thing. And then the other one, you know, we're pulling a trailer with a piece of equipment on it. No longer. One truck, all of his equipment, all of his materials, everything he needs. And you're literally in and out in like 20 minutes. I did 120 feet of silt fence with one of our contractors up here in just under 30 minutes, out of the truck, installed, back in the truck and leaving. And that's the picture, that center top picture there. You can see that's the silt fence job that we did. Cool thing about that job is all along that fence, and then there's another one behind me in that picture that's like a privacy fence, solid wood fence. It was all blackberry bushes, you know, just wall to wall, and all kinds of roots that we were running through. And like I said, cut right through them, no problem at all. So it comes in very, very handy for that application as well. Speaking of roots, cutting out and transplanting established plants. Just cut around the root ball, lift it out, put it where you want it to be. You know, it's very easy. I got a guy down in Metairie, Louisiana, and he's cutting out and transplanting palm trees with it. That's all he does with it. So it's very, very good for that application as well. Drainage, if you guys are doing any drainage work at all, instead of cutting a 6-inch trench, putting in 4-inch perf pipe, there's materials out there called slot drain, sight drain, some people call it. It's 2 inches wide or 1.5 inches wide, 8, 10, 12, 16 inches deep, whatever your capacity need is. Just cut that trench, drop that strip drain in there. And again, very little backfill. So very, very quick on those drainage jobs, guys. Are there some applications out there that you're not currently doing, not incorporating into your repertoire? Can you add something like that, a new capacity to your jobs that you do, expand, diversify what you're doing? If you're given the tool that makes it much easier to be able to do that with even fewer workers. So let's talk a little bit about testimonial. What some of the guys out there, and it's not hard to find, it's not hard to track down. Instagram, Facebook, hashtag GeoRipperNation. This is the community of guys out there in the field using it, working in it. So check that out definitely. And they'll tell you, and you'll even see I see new applications all day long. These guys are coming up with new things, digging fence post holes. I got a guy that does koi ponds, and he uses it to sculpt the bottom of the koi pond to get his terracing in. Just all kinds of crazy applications. So definitely check that out. Hashtag GeoRipperNation. Josh Ike, I mentioned him a little bit earlier, and let's talk a little bit more in detail about what he found with the GeoRipper. Wood Duck Landscaping is the name of his firm. He initially bought it for irrigation, 1-inch pipe and lighting wire. This is going to be great for that. And he discovered its versatility because somebody stole his bed edger. It's terrible, man. So, yeah, somebody just carried off his bed edger. So now he's using it to put in bed edging, 4-inch stone strip, uses it now to dig holes to plant his perennials, transplant stuff. I mentioned that earlier, uses it to break up hardpan. Sometimes he runs into that situation where he has hard ground and he needs to get it churned up or tilled up, right? He said he's seen a labor savings of 15 to 20 to 1, and that's kind of a hard number to get around. But we talked earlier about he had one guy that did the same work, or almost twice, or more than twice as much work in half the time as he had, previously with multiple guys. And he also said he observed the guys love not hand digging anymore. I bet they do. I bet they do enjoy not hand digging anymore. It even makes your crews happier. So it's a crowd pleaser. Lance Thomas with Anode Solutions. What these guys do is they do cathode corrosion prevention. So they run material that helps prevent, mitigate, minimize the corrosion on things like cell towers, pipelines, storage tanks, those sorts of things. Okay. So he digs a 6 to 12 foot trench per anchor on those cell towers. And he said this used to take him 2 hours of hand digging, and it now takes 5 minutes. He said it's the most important piece of equipment that he has on his truck. And, I mentioned John Prakash earlier from Portland Sprinklers. It literally added $100,000 in revenues to his business overnight. So good tools work together, right? Hand in glove. We're not trying to make conventional trenching machines obsolete. Quite the opposite. They work fantastic together. They really complement each other very, very well. They both do what they do best. And what we offer is a machine that is designed for repairs, hard to reach job sites, things that you have limited access, tight spaces, those small, quick jobs you want to get in and out quickly with, jobs in an established area where you don't want to tear the yard up, and jobs where hooking up a trailer and mounting and unmounting a piece of equipment is either impractical or impossible. So what we're trying to do here, guys, we're trying to eliminate the shovel, right? So as soon as you get this machine, a lot of guys talk about, every time I pick up a shovel, I think I'm going to do this with the GeoRipper instead. And it really gets you thinking. And that's where you come into those new applications. Hey, I can use it for this thing or that thing. And the more you use it, the more uses you find for it, because it's so handy. The extra time and labor and strain on your crews using a shovel, it's become too costly, and it's going to increasingly become more and more so. Shovel's a thing of the past, really, guys. GeoRipper gets your job done faster, cleaner, saves you labor, time, makes you more money. Makes for, like I said, it makes for happier crews, more productive crews, and happier customers. So it's a win all the way around. Let's talk about safety with the GeoRipper. A lot of guys, when they first see it, oh, it's a chainsaw. It's gonna, fly around and cut everybody's heads off. It's not. It's a trenching machine. Turns slower. The RPM is slower. It's heavy enough to be stable and steady in the trench. 31 to 43 pounds, depending upon the machine and the digging depth that you select. It's heavy enough where it's not going to kick back or jump up out of the trench. But by the same token, it's also weighted nose heavy. So it's going to put the weight where the work is, not in your hands, not on your back. Plus, there's no twisting motion, right, that you get with that shovel. That's what blows guys' backside, is that twisting motion. So more people are injured by snow shovels than by snow blowers. Exact same principle. And you're going to be using it for so much a shorter period of time to dig that same trench. There's less opportunity for anything to happen. It's a very, very safe piece of equipment. Soils. I often, when I'm at shows or talking to people, they say, oh, it's not going to work in my soil. It does. Rocky, soils, sandstone, limestone, basalt, shale, it doesn't matter what your aggregate is, and it doesn't matter what the size of the aggregate is. It's going to be able to work through that. It's going to cut sand. It's going to cut through clay, silt loam, certainly easy as pie. Caliche, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the soils in the Southwest, particularly Phoenix, down in the valley, a nightmare. It cuts right through it. Sugar sand down in Florida, that's another one. It's a real nightmare to work with, cuts through that. Even cuts frozen soils, frozen ground, which, you know, is pertinent this time of year, timely, certainly. I've got a guy that he's in North Dakota. He was out putting solar panels, you know, a solar array in, and he was putting in the helical piers to mount the solar array to, and could not get those helical piers to go into that frozen ground. So what he did was he stood the georipper up on end, hit the throttle, and drove it straight down into the ground, kind of like Excalibur into the stone, right? That gave him a guide hole. After that, he was able to get those helical piers in very, very easily. I've got another guy that works for a veteran cemetery up where you are, up in Minnesota, and he uses it to open, close, set headstones, because it's the only thing that's going to be able to cut the ground when it's frozen that neatly. So yeah, I personally used it in Cleveland in January when I did a demo there. It was last year. Went into Cleveland and did a demo there. And you know, honestly, guys, frozen ground is one of the best situations you can work in. There's no dust, there's no mud. It comes up out of the ground almost like wood shavings. So it's very neat, very clean. And, you know, I know you guys probably up there are working with primarily your silt type's going to be silt loam, probably limestone aggregate to some degree or another, clay, some hard pan here and there. So it's absolutely going to be ideal for what you guys are using it for. So brief synopsis on, sorry about that. Brief synopsis on the models that we offer. So there's 3 engine components, and start there. The 6 series is our standard 2-stroke engine. This thing is a little beast. This is my go-to. Anytime that I need to use the georipper for something, I grab that 6 series 20-inch bar, off I go. The 6 series is by far our most popular machine. Fantastic power to weight ratio on this one. I'd say it's the most popular model out there. I guess probably 80% of the guys using a georipper are using the 6 series. The lightest weight and powerful, certainly powerful enough to get the job done. Now, 7 series is our 4-stroke version. So that comes into play when you have certain scenarios in place, things like, you know, and some guys like a 4-stroke, and it's really a great machine to work with. It's quieter. So if you're on a HOA or a golf course, you know, something like that, where noise sensitivity, noise restrictions come into play, that's going to be a little bit more suitable for you, perhaps. Also, you don't have to worry about mixing the gas and oil, you know, because that's certainly a consideration. It's the heavy, like I said earlier, it's the heaviest machine, so it's going to be the most stable when running, and no 2-cycle fumes. So in many ways, it's the most pleasant machine to work around, definitely. Our 8 series is our heavy duty 2-stroke. This is our most powerful version. So if you're working in a lot of areas where it's particularly root bound, stony, those kind of things. Also, if you're working in an application where you need that deeper drop. So, you know, electrical or utility drops, those kind of things, deeper root barrier, those sorts of things. On the 8 series, we can do 16, 20, or the 27-inch digging depth. So that's going to allow you to get that deeper 27-inch digging depth on that. 6 series, 16 or 20-inch, 7 series, also 16 or 20-inch. But on that 8 series, we can do 16, 20, or 27. So with that 8 series, with the 27-inch digging depth, call it the GR827, that comes with the Easy Cart as part of that package. And you can see that Easy Cart there, that's the machine mounted on it. Let's talk a little bit about the Easy Cart and how that comes into play. Works with any one of our machines. It's universal. There's a little tang on the bottom of the machine with a hole in it. Drop that into a receiver on the axle, slide a locking pin through the hole, wrap a little Velcro thing around the handle of the machine to move the throttle. And literally within, 20, 30 seconds, you're mounted, off you go, ready to use it on the machine. So on your longer runs, if I would say 25 feet or more with any regularity, it's going to be a less fatigue. It's going to be faster on those longer runs than using it by hand. So it's, like I said, it's perfect for those 25 feet or longer runs where you don't want to hand trench the whole time. And I think most importantly, if you're doing a long run, having it mounted on the Easy Cart is going to give you a more consistent trench depth from one end to the other. So where that's going to be important, that's where the Easy Cart comes into play with that consistency on that. So put a little thought into that, guys, because I'm going to tell you, 50% of the guys that buy a machine, I don't need the Easy Cart. They come back and they buy the Easy Cart because they find out, that it's really a great tool to use in conjunction with it. It's very, very beneficial and very helpful. So I'd like to thank you guys for having me in again. It's great to be here. I want you to check out our website, www.minitrencher.com. Let Reinders come out and show you the GeoRipper firsthand on your job site and bring a machine out. They'll show you how it operates, show you how to use it, let you use it, for a short distance. You're going to see it's good cut in your soil. It's going to work in your application. You're going to see the benefits of everything that it can bring to the table for you. Feel it with your own hands, see it with your own eyes. You're going to see that this machine's going to be a game changer for you, to be sure. If you're looking to stay ahead of the competition, guys, this is the way to do it. Make sure you have GeoRipper in your toolbox. Thanks again to Reinders for having me in today and all of the work that they do to help us in this profession make our jobs better and easier. And thanks again to you guys for hanging out with me today. Listen to what I have to lay down. Give Reinders a call and have them come out and show you what worlds the GeoRipper can open up for y'all. I appreciate it. Thank you.